I think that's unfortunate. I would welcome any opportunity to engage with leadership. I think defense departments should be talking to each other on a routine basis, or should have open channels for communication.
There was Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin on how China's defense minister declined to meet with him in Singapore this week. He also expressed concern over recent Chinese aggression in international waters and airspace. Joining me right now is retired Army Brigadier General and author of the new book, Total Empire. Anthony Tata is here. General, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for being here.
Great to see you, Maria. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about China a number of times, and I want to get your take on the CCP pushing back consistently on the United States. Yeah, we should have regular discussions, but does that change when you've got an adversary sending a surveillance balloon into your country to send military secrets back to Beijing in real time?
Yeah, so, you know, China's brushing up against our rivet joint RC-135 spy plane. They're sending spy balloons over. They're pushing out, they're flexing their muscles internationally, and now they won't meet with our Secretary of Defense. It's an obvious snub. It's an open snub. And, you know, the Asian cultures are very much about face, and so it's even more of a snub when you think about how important it is in these cultures to be perceived as at least trying. They're not even trying. There's no perception that they're trying. And so when you think about how fast their military is growing, how tough their economy is right now, but they're pouring more percentage of their GDP into the military, they've got some plans, right? And so the transparency that we're trying to achieve but unable to achieve is really important and concerning.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have more ships than we have in their Navy. What did you make of the defense part of this this bill, which passed the House last night?
Yeah, so you know, the defense part of the bill, I think, you know, it increases funding, but it doesn't increase it at the pace that we need it. When you look at the Chinese aggression in the South China Sea, in that area, what's going on with Russia, and the fact that our Afghanistan withdrawal, the botched withdrawal there, led to the you know, Russia going to Ukraine, led to our two big strategic adversaries allying together, Russia, China.
Exactly.
You think about how could you bungle foreign policy more than we possibly have? I don't know.
Yeah.
But right now, you know, we fractured NATO in a way that nobody's talking because we left Afghanistan without really telling them about it. And so, you know, other 29, 30 nations were left to their own devices to get their people out of there. And it was pell-mell rush to get out. They're mad about that.
Yeah, and yet the CCP is inside the gates of America, according to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. He said that they have been able to infiltrate so many areas. Most importantly, they've infiltrated big business. You've got business managers lobbying in many ways for the CCP, and that has unwitting investors investing in Chinese companies right now, even those that are sanctioned, by the way, in the Thrift Fund. And that is, you know, in many cases funding the expansion. You've got Elon Musk leaving China earlier this morning. During his visit, he met with the vice premier, foreign minister, the commerce minister. He toured the Tesla Shanghai factory. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon also there for the bank's annual Growth China Summit in Shanghai. Fox Business's White House correspondent Edward Lawrence pressed the White House about these visits. Here's what he said. Watch.
This level of representation in China right now, does that send a bad message that there'll be no repercussions no matter what China does?
These CEOs really should be allowed to speak for themselves and for their travel. There's never been some sort of fiat by the White House or the U.S. government that the American business executives can't travel to China and can't conduct business as they feel is appropriate.
Your thoughts on all of these business people in China and the impact?
Well, what investors need to know is that when they invest in these companies that end up in China with you know, the workforce or the market there, a huge chunk of that investment is going to fund the military in China. And the other thing is that coming out of COVID, what we have is, you know, China has spent an extra year with COVID lockdowns, so their economy is really sputtering and struggling right now. And what we learned coming out of COVID was that we have supply chains where we're dependent on Chinese production, and they're a huge market, and so it's a double whammy. And so when you think about the economy in China, we're really struggling to onshore some of what we produce over there. It's so important to get into the U.S. economy and make the things that we rely on China to
No, you would
produce.
think that's why we got to get the supply chains out. I believe there was a quote from Xi Jinping during one of his speeches to the troops there saying we have to get the whole world reliant on the China supply chain so that we are able to shut it off when we believe it's necessary.
Oh, that's the PPP that we shipped over there, and then they sell it back to us.
That's right.
Right.
And right now we're worried about the fact that 90% of advanced semiconductors are made in Taiwan.
Right.
And China is aware as well. Your new book, Total Empire, is a novel. Is this loosely based on real stuff, given your experience?
China's building nuclear weapons faster than any country in the world. They've got hypersonic glide vehicles, and Total Empire is all about the risk that poses, and our hero, General Garrett Sinclair, tries to stop that in the middle of the Sahara Desert.
Love it. Congrats on your 15th book.
Yeah, thank you, Maria.
General, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks so much. Anthony Tata joining us.